lot of the software operates on different operating systems. Then came the phase where, because of open systems and open platforms, you were able to standardize and provide seamless integration between all of your different software. Then came the phase where we call the service-oriented architecture. This sounds like a very technical phrase that people who are not in technology can understand. All it meant was that the customer gets the service that the bank provides them. So it's an architecture where the bank provides the service to the customer. Today, all of this infrastructure has been thrown out of the window because the customer, through his device, controls how the bank provides the services to him. So we've now entered a world called the services phase of the banking industry. And because of that, banks have to go through a phase of building that data infrastructure. Remember, I said to you at the beginning of this presentation that the first revolution taking place in banking is data. Do you know that it takes up to 7 years to build a data infrastructure in a bank? And in that 7 years, it takes another 7 years probably to even understand the data that you've put together. So it's a journey. Don't look at banking as something that changes suddenly overnight. It's a journey. And it's a journey that started from way long ago, and that process is continuing today. So even as a bank wants to be able to build an infrastructure that is meaningful to the customer, the first thing you need to do is to put your data together. And centralizing data is a huge project. Some of your banks have done it within a year or 2 years. After you centralize your data, you realize that a lot of your data is rubbish that needs to be cleaned up. And then you go to a phase of starting to use that data and understand that that data keeps growing and changing. And then you start looking for meaning. We all hope that the banking industry will come to a point one day when a customer can walk into a bank and the bank doesn't tell him, these are our 12 products. The customer says to himself, I am 24 years old, I just left university, I'm getting married, I live in this city, I'm going to move to this other city, so I will take this product, this product, this product, and this product. Thank you very much. And the bank has to say, yes, Mr. Customer, let me put this together for you. The bank is no longer the king. The customer is the king. And that's what we want to be able to arrive to. Again, I said to you, data is changing the way we live and work. You know what data is doing to us within the organization itself? This is how we are organized today. This we took from one of the bank's annual report. This is a traditional bank structure. There is the boss, and then there's a junior boss, and then there's a small boss, and then there's the worker. And everybody is a boss in a Chinese bank today, right? That world is changing. Because of data, there is no boss. We are all workers. And because of data, there is no hierarchy. We all are here to get work done. And this is a phenomenon that's not going to change just Chinese banks, but banks all over the world. It's changing the banks already. So today when we think about treasury, we think about how the CFO, the treasurer, the chief risk officer, and the CIO, the chief investment officer, work together. And that same group of people might actually work together on something else later. When we think about retail banking, we think about how the head of retail, the head of technology, the head of operations sit together in a meeting and discuss about how they want to deliver services to their customers. When we think about technology, we think about the chief information officer and the chief technology officer sitting together and collaborating on how they want to deal with the changes taking place. I want you to pay attention to a very important new role that is being designed in a lot of banks today. It's called the Chief Marketing Officer. You will see that this role is becoming more and more important because the Chief Marketing Officer is not the person who puts out advertisements in the bank, in the newspapers anymore. The Chief Marketing Officer is the person who looks at the data to do what I said what we could do today, which is to look at 1,000 people in the room and understand who you are, your lifestyle, the point in your life that you are in today, and then identify the 200 people who are logical for the kind of products and services that you want to deliver as a bank. I want you to look back at this organizational chart of a traditional bank today. You know the question you should ask when you look at a traditional organizational chart? The question you should ask is, who in this organization chart owns the customer? Who in your bank owns the customer data? When you think about where data is located in your bank, is it the person who puts the data together? Is it the Chief Marketing Officer who uses the data? Is it the product manager who designs the products for the customers? Ask yourself this question. You know, you only realize that this question is important when you can't find the data, when you can't use the data. Then it becomes, where is this data? Why am I not giving access to? There's so much data out there on the customer. Why is technology not helping me? Why is marketing not helping me? Why is why are the product people not making the decisions based on data? We all get angry. Then the question is, who owns the customer? This is the traditional design of a core banking system. And the traditional design of a core banking system is hierarchical. We have the general ledger at the baseline, then the data infrastructure, the application layer, and then the distribution layer. And many of you, especially those of you who come from big banks, the big four banks in China, do you know that the big four banks in China have more IT staff than a lot of the IT companies around the world put together? In other words, some of the best IT companies are putting together software which is world class with just 400 people. In an average Chinese big bank, you can have up to 10,000 IT staff. And then the temptation there is that with 10,000 staff, you are in a position to design your own IT infrastructure. The big challenge that a lot of Chinese banks go through today is, should we design our own architecture or should we buy it from outside? The smaller the bank, the more likely they are to buy it from outside. The bigger the bank, the bigger the temptation to think that you can develop it in-house. The truth is that the knowledge business is not about the number of staff you have. One person can change the world. 10,000 people can be as expensive and not relevant as everybody else. So I said to you that today we are reaching out to customers through the mobile channels. Ask yourself this question. How many apps do you have inside your mobile phone? I counted the other day, it's about 500 apps in my phone. Okay? How many do you think I use in a day? Maybe 5. And yet, because of the number of IT staff that we have in our banks, we all think that our job is to design apps and keep loading the iPhone with more and more and more and more apps. We have no idea that business is designed to serve customers. Banking is not about us. Banking is not about bankers. Banking It's about the customer. So if the customer is only going to use 5 apps in any day, the job of banking is to try and guess which 5 apps can I get involved in to be important to that customer. So 10,000 staff don't mean anything. At Asian Banker, we try to do research to try and figure out how banks are finding that 5 customers or the 5 applications to reach out to the customers. When we think about multi-channels, we think about how do we reach out to customers using that combination of branch, of mobile, of internet, of kiosks put together. How do we revolve around the lifestyle of the customer? What does he do when he wakes up in the morning, goes out, takes the bus to work, walks past shopping malls, gets into the elevator to work? In that journey alone, where will we encounter this experience called banking? And every bank has to answer this question for yourself. How many branches do you need? How many applications do you need? Which applications are closest to what the customer needs to do? It is very, very clear that digital is where the income is going to come from. It is also very, very clear that what you really need to do is to successfully make the customer dependent on you for more than one product or one financial product. So if your customer depends on you for his mortgages, for his remittance payments that he needs to make back to his hometown, for his daily payments and so on, then he becomes so dependent on you that he will not use another bank or another financial services provider. So my point in all this, ladies and gentlemen, is this. We need to run the banking business from the outside looking in, not from the inside looking out. Don't look at your customer's business from the way you look like inside your bank. That is not where the future is, because the customer is not interested in you. There's another big transformation taking place in financial services today. Look at all of these names. Uber, Titi Tache, Facebook, Lending Club. Lending Club is a P2P lending, social media, P2P lending, crowd lending platform. PayPal, YouTube, Google, Alibaba, Ticket Charge. Now look at all these names and ask yourself this one question. What do you think is the common feature among all of these new technologies coming into the market today and challenging the financial institutions